Hey there! Ebony is pricey. Here's a $625 pen for your consideration, and today we're going to have a good look at it. This pen was lent to me by Appelboom, for which I send kind thanks. This is a Jacques Herbin Caravelle in Ebony and Palladium trim. I have reviewed the Jacques Herbin Sloop, which is a somewhat less quote-unquote fancy material. Ebony is an interesting wood. So this is a wooden pen, right? The section is not wood. That was a smart choice. I'll come back to that. And I think we should cover the pen, do writing sample, tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it. So let's get this show on the road. Jump aboard the Caravelle and we'll sail away. Sorry, I try. Jacques Herbin, Jacques Herbin. Okay, this is the Jacques Herbin, and this is, I find it kind of interesting that they are doing their own pens now. This is the Caravelle. Caravelle is of course a type of boat. I say of course as if I know what I'm talking about. I was not really familiar with that, but I don't know much about boats. Here we have the very happy L'Occitane style box, if you ask me. It's that same yellow. Quite simple, and this whole thing is a bit L'Occitane-like. Don't you say? Wouldn't you say? Like L'Occitane, you know, the same type of ribbon, the same type of linen bag. Anyway. So we have this little pen pouch, which I think is quite cool, and then we have some information. I particularly enjoy this little booklet because it's actually full color, and it lists all the stuff that they sell, all the accessories, which I think is really cool. Their inks, I think that's really well made for such a small little thing. And then we have a filling instructions doubling as a warranty card. So here we have that. Let me put this out of the way, and then we have the pen. I shall zoom in a bit for you. Zoom in a bit for you, and then we'll put this right next to a Lamy Safari, aka the Safari. So, about the same length, and I would say about the same girth. Now, this pen is made of ebony, which is an interesting wood. Very nice, very dark wood. Has a very nice feeling to it as well. And 18 karat nib, unlike the Sloop model, which has a steel nib. These nibs are only available in fine and medium. Let's cover the parts, let's do a bit of writing, and then I'll talk about likes and dislikes. So, finial, a nice shiny metal Palladium trim, so it looks quite nice. We have the clip. The clip is pretty stiff, but can definitely be used. We have this simple center band, which I kind of like. The Jacques Herbin logo, or the Jacques Herbin logo, is not on there. Maybe that's a missed opportunity, but in a way, I kind of like this simplicity. It's very elegant. A barrel that tapers down ever so slightly, and then we have an end cap. The pen opens up by unscrewing, and then we have a very long section. I would say relatively long section, and I consider that a good thing. It's very comfortable for me to hold this, and even though it is metal, some people hate metal sections, there is so much material that it's easy for you to hold. You can see my entire phalanx here covers that section, so pardon me, there is quite a bit of an opportunity for you to use the pen, hold it comfortably, and that also means that these threads, which in themselves are not particularly sharp, but as you can see there's quite a bit of a step down from that barrel, but you don't feel that because the section is so long that it's very comfortable to hold. Now if you want to, you can post the pen, not very deeply, so it's not necessarily super secure, but it does post. It becomes really quite long then. I would not necessarily recommend that. And then we have here a nice 18 karat gold nib, in this case fine. It has the Jacques Herbin logo on it with the little ship. I always thought that was cute. I also like this sort of fingerprint type line pattern they put on it. It's quite nice. Number 6 nib, plastic feed. Cartridge converter fed. Pen comes with a converter, sorry. Let's do a bit of writing and see how this pen performs. When Jacques Herbin says fine nib, they're not kidding. This is a very fine nib, and the ink is Delft's Blauw by Ackerman in The Hague. I would say that for some brands this would be considered extra fine, or for Japanese pens this would be a Japanese fine as opposed to a Western fine. I am not commenting negatively on this. All I am saying is this is a very truly fine fine. Having said that, you feel a bit of feedback. There simply isn't that much tipping to polish, so that's what you would expect with such a fine nib. But if you like a good fine, it's very nice. It doesn't really skip. It works pretty well. It is not the world's wettest writer, but for such a fine nib, I think it is really nicely tuned, nicely adjusted. You don't really get any natural stubbiness, but nor would you expect that on a nib this fine. Line variation, as always, you have to be a bit careful, but as you can see, there is definitely some to be had. Again, always very, very careful. It's not a flex nib. You can do reverse writing quite easily, and you can take your fine to an extra fine, which I think is quite nice as well. So in all, a nice writer. Let's discuss what I like and what I don't like about this pen. Alright, what do I like, what do I not like about the Caravelle by Jacques Herbin? Well, there's a couple of things that are quite nice. A somewhat larger pen, not huge, but definitely a bit larger, and a very pleasant, somewhat longer section. I know I've talked a lot about the length of that section, but I just find it really, really comfortable. And that to me really makes this pen stand out. The nib is for sure very, very fine, but quite nice to use, and a very, for me, it makes for a pleasant writer. There is some feedback, but that is really fine, so there simply isn't that much tipping to polish. That's what you get, but it works, and it works really nicely. It puts down a nice consistent line of ink, which I really like. Things I don't like so much. Well, Ebony is a more expensive wood, so that would add to the price. This is not a cheap pen. $625 US for this pen. Cartridge converter filled. It does have the gold nib, so 18 karat gold nib, and yes, there is ebony, and again, that is a more expensive wood. If it is $625 expensive, like it is on this pen, that I am not the best person to indicate because I'm not a woodworker, but a more expensive wood. That would demand a higher price, that's for sure. Palladium trim is quite nice, stands out nice and shiny. I like it. I like that from a distance. This pretty much looks like a black pen, but as you get closer you see that it is wood and that it's just a very dark wood, which is exactly what ebony is. One thing I found in capping the pen is that it can cross thread. Now of course, yeah, there you go. It can cross thread, and then you need to fiddle with it a bit. That's more of a nuisance than any real serious issue, but it can happen. So, having said that, again, for me the biggest issue is the price. It's an expensive pen, especially for what it is. But those of you who love wooden pens, and I know those people are there, it's ebony. That is a pretty sweet wood. So that is quite nice. And that's it. A very kind thank you to Appelboom for sending me this pen. I appreciate it. I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye.